Everybody remembers to good motivation. Now remember, right? To set up good motivation to when you listen, teaching, or you do practice, whatever you do, activities, think about benefit to all sentient beings. I will do this purpose. Then it is be done good things. Right? Are you sure? Then we talk about 37. What's the 37?
Practice.
Yes. Practice Buddhism. 37 was the Bodhisattva practice. It is very useful to one daily practice. You can think about just, maybe you have time to recite every morning. It's, not too long. Beginning to end, then a little bit thinking. Also other one, learning to give you.
7 verses of thought transformation.
This is also very good to practice. Every day, daily practice. Then you think about, you do a little meditation. Meditation means you can think about the meaning. Right? You guys think meditation means think about some subject or just nothing thinking, just sit comfortable, not moving, close eyes. What do you guys think the meditation means? Meditation means you have to need some object. Focus the object.
So you have to focus on the object and contemplate on it.
Right? Therefore you can think about, recite this virtues, texts, then think about it a little bit. Maybe difficult to sadhanas, we have to think it too difficult to visualization. This is more easy than what they talk about. If this verse what talk about, then that teacher then never you to call it some power is better. And you can call it luck. Teaching luck, and you call it some power is.
So whatever the verse is explaining, you should contemplate on that. If the verse is explaining about perfect human rebirth, then you should contemplate on perfect human rebirth.
Right? Perfect human rebirth is they're very long. You go to long term, then too big. Just here maybe one verse, two verses. Right? This is a practice. Every day you have 24 hours, right? If you do 24 hours,
so if your 24-hour becomes meaningful, then your life will become, the whole life will become meaningful.
Right? Then also 24 hours we have maybe, I don't know, 8 hours, then maybe sleeping to sleep, and then how many hours we have left over. During that time we do good things. Then every day, every month, every year, then getting better and better and better. Then one day we come to enlightenment. I hope so. I hope so. Today my
So whatever we're studying, if we can contemplate on that a little bit, it will be very beneficial.
Right? 근데 남서 로조 집에 그된데 집 다 수수 세면치 대화 또야기 답시라고 지. 다 수수 지 대화지가 답시라고 지로 왔어.
So the purpose of studying, is to bring some transformation to our mind, to bring some peace and happinesses.
근데 로조 제게 냐면 제게 선바데 봐 차로나 다 지라 다주 로조 제게 싫어 배면 그랬어.
So as you study more and more, if your mind becomes harder and harder, then studying Dharma hasn't become much beneficial.
Right? Your mind is harder, it's not this kind of hard. Maybe too much ignorant work of that. Nature, Shena, Koto, Chadok, so Mana, that's some touch about.
So your mind becomes harder if you have more delusions arising in your mind.
Right? Sometimes this is really also dangerous. People have a little bit more knowledge and more, what do you call it? Some logic of this, yeah, you know, and then with this, you might get a chair, you know,
And sometimes people, when they have some knowledge, then they become more arrogant.
Right? Usually, who doesn't have top down long shut down? And then Lojon came in today, not that should have taught us a long
So those people who don't have much abilities, or much rights, much wealth, knowledge and so forth, are not that arrogant.
Who has then more than their more arrogance coming? Oh, I'm the best one. I know everything. And this guy making big trouble. Then they're all negativities. Then we follow them. Then maybe Yama, he opened the mind. And 500 she's passing object also. You doji deni, passing object or you're like it. What did you say?
So, anyway, according to the Abhidhamma Kosha, the hell realm, is 500 arm span, or I don't know how they count it. So anyway, there's like certain distance below Bodh Gaya Stupa.
Right. They want to hold this. Maybe this is maybe not true. You 105 the bottom object about 20 Baji Africa later.
He only says if you go down 500 whatever it is, feet or meter or arm span, you reach Africa. Not if you keep on going down under the Bodh Gaya Stupa, then you will reach Africa.
Yeah.
So there's like 500 arm span is one boxe, and there are 500 boxes below the stupa. Bodhisattva, there's a Helram, hot Helram.
Then the Yama, he opened his mind, then who's coming, checking. Then we have a lot of diligence, then he's very there. I don't know, anyway, Helram is maybe not this country. When they will be passed away, one can karma be born there. And then not, this is a Helram, you have to go there, maybe not this country. The animals, that's the lotus of the world. And the Telugu that come here was the Kawachin and go, Telugu, that Telugu is Charles. The Telugu is the same meals.
So as there is no designated place for the animals, so wherever the animal is born, that's its place.
Right. Also, we are human beings. This is the place only humans born, not others. No place, right? All beings born this world. Today, by that college, Nyawada Yedada Tundro Chi, Tashi said, Suzu, Kansacha, legend, Balatin, Suzu Kesaka, she had joined with.
So the places like Helram, Hungry Ghost Ram, or the Pure Ram, depending on whatever karma you have created, when the karma ripens, then that place or the field comes into existence.
Right. Someone asked me, where's the Helram? Then what we say? We can say maybe some other land. Then the time the Ngeso said, that's also. Machine, the Jawashima, the lady can't be better. That is all.
So the Lord is whatever a place that is created by our own karma, our own negative karma after when we die.
Then that time, also, Kurukulla Center, Tapi, Tanjaka, Show Mataba, and the legend, Jamdo.
So what we should think about or contemplate on are the difficulties to achieve profit and rebirth, the death and impermanence, karmic law, cause and effect, the refuge, bodhicitta, and so forth. And so in this text, the 37 practices of Bodhisattva, it explains about the person in the human rebirth, right?
Anybody know? Do you think? Which verse? Which verse? Maybe difficult. I think they forget. This is difficult.
It's early.
It's
the first one.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, good. Today is that collapse was. Single load is one. Syndical Karla to the one of Hako governments. China, single they were teeth, called they were Karla Hamon and the Shira.
So, like he said, the verse 1 explains about the prophetic rebirth, right? And so when we read the verse, you have to know what it is explaining about. If you just read it, but you don't understand what it's talking about, then it's not very beneficial. And so you have to think about the difficulties to achieve prophetic rebirth, so that is explained in the verse 1, right? And then we have to contemplate on death and impermanence. So which verse explains about that? Do you know?
Just guess, maybe guess. Maybe anybody guess, maybe someone.
So as you see, it's explained in the verse 4. So that explains about the death and impermanence, the verse. Number 4.
You think it makes sense? You think they talk about? And then also,
Then we have to contemplate on the Guru devotion. So where is it explained, you know?
Do you know? Maybe just guess. Do you have anything fun?
6.
Ah, good. What the little was that you pay out to us? The little was it sit Musaba, it's the Karlaka in the Hako.
And so that's good. You have to understand where it is explained, which word explains or which verse explains it. And then it comes to the body, and it's a refuge. So which verse explains about the refuge?
7.
Good. I guys just guess or read really now. The pair was what little Hakon, the pair was right to the logic of Kochi.
And so like that, if you can understand that way, then your studying has become meaningful, worthwhile.
The name of that they were changing chance which is same. Some of the college, some of the tape and I should look at love, same case of some of the
And then we have to think on and contemplate on the points of the small scope, medium scope, and the great scopes, right? So which verses do explain? Does explain the points on the small scope, medium scope, and great scopes? Do you know?
8, 9, and 10.
Correct.
You ever go which was?
난 고수 세대다 근데 개원이 다들 개원 그거 좋은 맛도 좋은 말로 was.
So you're right. It starts from verse 8, 9, and 10, and then goes on.
March. Legendary of Savannah,
And then where does it explain about the karmic law of cause and effect? Karma and its results.
Also 8.
Given.
다 개원하라고 그랬다. 근데 중이 나가는 데로 나고 있는 거야. 단도 방가 집어집어로 나고 있어.
And also it is explained in verse 12, right?
먼저 로로스 나와 왔어. 요즘 소자 걸리나.
Verse 11. No?
Did you like this?
주지 마. 주지 마. 저와도 봐지. 저와도 합쳐. 중이 되나 보다. 왔어. 다 미션 봐서 내가 자도 데리고 온 거 소소 초바도 주바도나. 다들 다 모셔. 다들 좀 초바대. 근데 소소 막 컨트롤하기 못 맞히고 있다. 이제 내가 레이서를 바꾸고 그러고서 로좀 소자 걸리는 거 왔어.
Excuse me. So in verse 12, it explains about someone out of strong desire steal your wealth. Then you have to understand that that's the result of the karma of stealing that you have created in the past.
근데 개원을 하나 건데 왔어. 다 저기 무슨 배 동아진 줄 알고 다 놈의 소소 사주 벨레진 줄 알고 레이서. 나 건데 왔어. 대단한 세 왔어. 소도 왔어.
And in the verse 8, it's even more clear. It says, unbearable suffering of bad rebirth is the fruit of wrongdoings. Right?
좋아. 어떤 데로. 다 그냥 맞는데 내가 가서 샘게 말을 걸. 80쪽 영향을 왔어.
And now as we go down, last time we talked about the practice of the six perfections, right? It goes all the down like verse 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So the verse 25 explains about the practice of generosity, right?
What is
The entity or definition of generosity or giving. You know what is the definition? What's the nature of giving?
Maybe I give someone one cup of tea. This is the generosity.
Is it giving?
Okay.
It depends on one's internal attitude.
Might be some-
Depends on, it's not the external action as much as the internal attitude.
Yeah. don't semba touch the
So what you give externally is not really the giving. The actual giving is the intention to give, right? So the externally what you give is the substance for giving. And then the morality. So what is the definition of morality?
Avoiding the 10 non-virtues.
Yeah, you can say that it's the intention, the mind wanting to abandon 10 non-virtuous actions. Well, usually it is the vow that you have taken, right? So you want to observe those vows. So the mind intending to observe the vows is the nature or the definition of morality. So you can also, anyway, you can also call the mind that abstains from engaging in the wrongdoings. So and then comes the practice of patience, which is explained in verse 27. So what's the nature of patience?
Okay, maybe Dilos.
That even when someone harms you, you do not retaliate.
No bala lema jayas. Mission that no bajara. Tila lema jadi. So pares. Yeah, so yeah, that's similar to that. Anyway, it's the mind that is not disturbed, by harms.
Good.
And the verse 28 explains about effort, enthusiastic effort. So what is the definition of effort?
The mind that delights in virtue.
Oh, good. Okay. You got it? Don't forget, okay? It's difficult.
What did he say? What did he say?
The mind that delights in virtue is joyous effort.
And then verse 29 explains about karma abiding. This is a little difficult, right?
Everybody loves Kamabari, right? What's the definition of Kamabari? One guy, very old student, he told me, he almost achieved Kamabari. He talked about something. And I, explained, he explained me how he achieved it. He has explained, so, experience to Kamabari. Then he said, oh, this is Kamabari. Then
Karma abiding.
Kamabari. But I don't know, maybe some other country. No, he studied the books, maybe not same as he explained me. Some people are confused. Then they think this is Kamabari, but the text them explain that she need to go near the current logo it was.
So there are prerequisites for achieving karma abiding, right? And I asked him about the prerequisites, and he didn't know about those. So I don't know how he achieved karma abiding.
But
he claimed that he has achieved karma abiding.
We talk about a lot, right? Kamabari, maybe 2-3 ways.
So how will you roughly define karma abiding?
Okay. Well, maybe Mori. Try.
Where the mind is still and you're focused on a single single focus of concentration. No, I'm not reading. Single focus of concentration, virtuous.
쌤 데다 쓰지 못 내봤어.
샘라는 발라 스탠드 넘어 존 샘. 주변을 넣어서.
쌤 쓰지 못 내봤어. 이게 여러 쓰지 못 내봤어. So virtuous object? Does it have to be the virtuous
Well,
object? Did you say virtue?
it doesn't have to be to achieve it. No.
So the calm abiding is a common practice of both Buddhists and non-Buddhists, right?
Yes.
So it's not necessary to be virtue, the object. So anyway, the definition, roughly you can say, being able to place the mind in a way we want it. In a way we want it. So if you want to put it here, you just be able to put it there. If you want to put it over there, you be able to put it over there. So wherever way you want to put, being able to put it in that way. Place the mind in that way. So that's, you can say, rough a definition of calm abiding.
Geshe, would we say that, as part of that rough definition, would you say that it's effortless? Being able to effortlessly put the mind on a single object, or maintain the mind on a single object?
말해, So that's even better, effortlessly, if you can do that.
Okay.
That's even better, but that will be harder.
Okay.
So anyway, calm abiding, there are many different stages, right? So when you are on the final, the 8th and 9th stage, then at that time you'll be able to maybe concentrate without any efforts.
Maybe too far. That's
And then verse 30 explains about about wisdom, right? Or spatial insight. And so the wisdom is the spatial insight. So the spatial insight is the mind that realizes wisdom based on calm abiding. Based on calm abiding, then you come to realize emptiness. And so that mind which realizes emptiness based on calm abiding is called spatial insight, or the wisdom in this case here. And so anyway, the wisdom here is the mind that realizes emptiness. And so these 6 practices, such as generosity and so forth, if these are conjoined with either with wisdom realizing emptiness or bodhicitta, then it becomes practice of the 6 professions. So mainly it has to be conjoined with bodhicitta. And so when you conjoin, when you conjoin the practice of generosity with the bodhicitta, then it becomes a perfection of generosity. And so we have already gone through this discussion, right? Discussion on the practice of the 6 perfections.
We have some question?
Just one in verse 30, what does 3 spheres refer to?
I think the form realm, the formless realm, and the desire realm.
Which does not conceive the 3 spheres.
I thought that was the meditation, the object of
Yeah.
meditation. Yeah, the
Correct.
object of meditation means.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You understand?
I did.
The object, meditator, and the meditation.
Oh, thank you.
대선 다 내가 맞아봐.
So seeing all those three as empty of true
Empty
existence.
of choices. Thank you.
오케이? 아마 드리기 쇼로kan 이제 소치 받을 다 되기 아니 다 랑기 쳐와. 딱 맞아 그러나 수준 쳐대야 돼. 근데 수준 쳐가 예를 들면 수준 따져야 될 지금 그래서
And so then in verse 31 explains about how we make mistake with the things, that's the things that we see, things that we hear, and so forth, and we have to examine how we are mistaken.
손이 바디가 아니 다 소수기 저와 이면 다때문에 다때문에 소치 바시 로스야. 줄었어.
So let's read that verse 31 first.
If you don't examine your own errors, you may look like a practitioner but not act as one. Therefore, always examining your own errors, rid yourself of them. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas.
Okay. Everybody understand? If are we do examination ourselves? I don't think so. Sometimes. 뭐라? 랑긴 저와 랑긴 마파나 춤이 주지. 춤이 셰스베. 대신 견다랑 저다 가는 랑기. 야, 오케이? 랑기 다 수수 지금 링아였음지 고슴지 샤와데 따제 뭐 맞지가 있나? 다지 추비가 쇼로라지 추바이가 zu크네 아니 지금 링아야든지 샤와시야 돼다 추바 많이 벌에 도와지 다 용색을 해서
So like it says here, if you don't examine your own errors or mistakes, you may look like a practitioner outwardly, but inwardly you might be even worse than non-practitioners.
right? For example, I am wearing the monk's robe. You guys think, oh, Geshe nice. But the chubar was
Great practitioner.
I don't know, it may not work. That got chubar the light. That got chut, that chuching that to the tuck and the song was
Practitioner.
But, yeah, look, you can look me outside, maybe it was, monk's robe. But inside mine, 내 자신은 공중 tradoku. 딱 그래. 가대와나 다 실로 주변소리 말은 나 주변소 말했어.
So inside, if I'm filled with attachment, anger, hatred, arrogance, and so forth, then I'm only looking like a practitioner from outside, but inside I'm not really a practitioner.
Right. This you guys doesn't know. You guys think, oh, when we see us, hey, smiling nicely, but inside the glass, like hot water, boiling. Then that is your one. Study. Okay. Should you be to know? That's not what it is.
And so then you become, like it says here, you may look like a practitioner, but not act as one.
근데 다나도 강가를 잘해야 돼서 그 세고 건도 막 그만 동안도 지금 남반 양면 방 미큰 거 수도 쓰이 받는 강가를 잘해야 돼서
And so, just you can apply this to anybody, whoever seems to be a practitioner from outside. Whether if whether if the person is not checking whether he has or she has any errors, then might have all these mistakes or errors from inside, which proves that he or she is not a good practitioner from inside.
관심이지. 다 저거 보면 수도 쓰이 받는지. 라도 주말에 수도 쓰이 받는지. 아니 링아였으면 수수 계산 주벌로 써먹는 다
And so whoever it is, whether it's a monk, nun, ordained or lay person, even though he or she acts like a practitioner from outside, but from inside, always waiting for his or her own benefit all the time, arguing with others for his or her benefit all the time, then he or she is not a real practitioner from one side.
What if there are people who are on the outside very angry or
Inside
very, but inside there, we never know. Geshe used to say you never know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like who was the monk who used to sleep at the back, just sleep all the time? Who was it?
So,
When he went into the monastery.
Shantideva.
Shantideva, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he turned out to be, they said, oh, he's so lazy, he doesn't know anything, doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
So we never know, do we?
Yeah, we never know. Buddha said, Buddha got and the gave a thumb of Kawa Shin Mariswa, Tawe of Medojinda, and the Nether ship the Zabashi, that 3 years war. Country pagan the region of Tonga, South Tompe, Tinola Medon, the cut the Sak of Yapo Kashana, that Chu Chiba, that Tango Medon Kawa Hakomaros, Mijimi Lena, the little Chibares, that gave a thumb of Sudu Swime, not the Shilma, that Katoya Mares.
And so, Jasa Rinpoche said that it's very important to be conscientious about that. When you're pointing at somebody and talking about that person, you never know who that person is. Could be an enlightened being, could be a great practitioner. So it's just like the amber, a fire that's covered with ashes on the top. You don't see it. The fire, the red is underneath, so you don't see it. And you may step on it and then you burn your feet. So there's a risk of burning your feet just like that. There's a risk of creating lots of negative karma by talking about, by blaming or talking bad things about the person who might happen to be an enlightened being.
Buddha said,
And so Buddha said, you cannot assess people. People cannot assess people. Only a person like me can assess other person. So like me means like Buddha Shakyamuni himself. He said only a Buddha like him can assess other person. The person cannot assess person.
There one story in Buddha's time.
So there's one of the 16 arhats. There's a story about that during the time of Buddha.
Maybe it's too long, but anyway. The Sanji Chomne the Shashu Kabla Yachik. And the Sanji Chomne the Yondaji Resro. The Ligi Yonda, Tigi Yaching, Matepatri Yang, Yondachi, Tinikala, Yondachi.
And so there was this, during the time of Buddha Shakyamuni, there was this a benefactor who was making offering to Buddha Shakyamuni and also making offerings to a non-Buddhist master.
Nimaji Sanji Chomne the Teperon the Samarayata, Tigi Janadi Konakimela, Taton Pugiwaris, and Teokalani, Tasan Chumre Chivaris, Tangi Kimela Pugies, Put Preto Mokari, Yonzarisa, Tasan Chumre Shini, and the Sanji Chomne, that they push it yet, but they are cheap. Touch your Panova, Manavatri, they are making them by Shini, that's not totally. That long time.
And so then one day when Buddha came by, he made offering to Buddha. This benefactor made offering to Buddha, and he said, "Oh, my wife is pregnant, and can you tell me, whether it's a boy or a girl?" And then Buddha said, "Yes, it's a boy, and this boy is going to be very bright. He's going to enter into my teaching, and then will become arhat in that lifetime." So he prophesied about that child.
The number mind the Koran Kotel Junit, the Kodama lessons, Garlam to Sita, and Jum the Council, Channel the Koran Lavaris.
And so then the non-Buddhist master came to the benefactor and asked him, did Gautama, it's like Buddha Shakyamuni, did Gautama came? He says, yes, he came. And what did he say? Then he narrated all the accounts, the story that happened, what the Buddha Shakyamuni said about the child.
Then they contradon and Ta Pesa, the country, Ku, the Sanji Jum the Chonda, Ku Baji, the Nashuma the Kamara, that's in the Chemaris, Ku, the Sanjum the Tavacha, that could the Koran think about the Koran study, that is Sanjum the Son as you are. 대중에다 그 저도라니. 다 때가 아주 콜랍샤는 다 코치진다. 그러니까 말을 대화로는 콜 대화. 뒤에 다 주문가. 그러니까 당연히 콜 내가 나가서 트레이다. 그 그때부터 됐 드마나 그래서.
And so then this non-Buddhist master was concerned that if Buddha Shakyamuni were right, and then if the things just happen, just as he explained, then the sponsor, the benefactor, will think that Buddha Shakyamuni is higher, and that thereby make more offerings to him, and then maybe don't make any offerings to the non-Buddhist master. And so then he checked himself also, not through his clairvoyance, but through doing some kind of astrology. And then he checked, and then it says, oh, whatever Buddha Shakyamuni said was accurate. And anyway, so in order to to be a little bit different than Buddha Shakyamuni, so that he would not lose his benefactor, he said something. He told some lies.
다고 다때 종사를 다때 때 정도 그랬어 봐. 산촌들 나가 때 정도 그랬어 봐.
And then he said, yeah, it's like that, but there is some truth and there are some false and there are some truths.
근데 이제 다 보기 제사했어. 이나 보고도 제와당 저런 게 다 남이 메트로 살았어 봐. 다 보고도 다주면 투사도 다 용어에 말한다. 산촌에서 코로나 다주면 투면 다 그 코로나 다주면 더 요 말했다. 그네로 다 그다 두만 올라버려.
And then he said, yes, and it's going to be a boy, that's true, and it's going to be very bright, but soon after he's born, the family will be burnt in a fire. And then also he said, and becoming arhat, a four destroyer, arhat, is not possible because Buddha Shakyamuni himself is not arhat.
다 다음에 부터 줄롱이야. Anyway, that time 다 뒤바라 망보였어. 다 그런 망보였어. 이나야 다 니마치 간지 마치 다 공식 바라테 망보였어. 아니 니마치 되게 상지 좀 된다. 그세고 전에. 아니 상지 좀 된데 된데 시야 들이지네. 고나게 강배 고네. 아니 동치 보지 테마라 네 민바주. 다뒤 파로야나 강케만 동아지. 다 강바로야나 다 뒤마 사추주지 다 맨 투추주지 고샤샤. 근데 상지 좀 되는 고나지 봤다. 그
So anyway, there's a long story, what happened between these two great masters, Buddhist master and non-Buddhist master. But anyway, just to make it short, one day, I mean, he tried, to defeat Buddha Shakyamuni, to make him look low. He did so many things, but one of the things that he did was that he invited Buddha Shakyamuni for a meal at his house. And when Buddha Shakyamuni is coming, right in front of the door, he dig a pit, a hole, and then fill it with the fire, with the fire embers, and then cover it with ashes, so that you will not see it. And in order to kill Buddha Shakyamuni, Buddha Shakyamuni at that time, and he planned like that and invited him to come for a meal at his house.
You want to kill that? Then that Buddha Shakyamuni, some gods, they ask Buddha Shakyamuni, don't go there. If you go there, he has a very bad idea. He want to kill you. Says, no. Tangala she never got no marriage. Nangi, that never do. Just only. She never got no to marry. And show me that. That cause a lot of money.
So the gods, they knew, and then they warned Buddha Shakyamuni. They told Buddha Shakyamuni, don't go there, he's planning to kill you. And Buddha Shakyamuni said, don't worry about it, and I'm free from the inner harm, so the external harm cannot cause any harm to me.
Then during that time, the non-Buddhism there was the guy, is Taku Kampi Potaja, that Rita Kushias.
So he was, the non-Buddhist master, was on top of the roof of the house and watching and expecting Buddha Shakyamuni to die that day.
Then Buddha and Buddha is arhats all the coming. Then that's actually the Del Pevada. And the Kala chop, Taka Kambason, Shawada, Shabda Shabtela Shawada, and a Peme Metoche. And Tienalaya, that she shot down the Tedicate of Taka in Madosh. Sajako.
And so anyway, so when Buddha Shakyamuni arrived, then the moment he stepped on that, on the fire, a lotus came from it, and when just before he can step on it, the lotus came, and then there was many like the chirping, the birds singing and so forth.
Then the other guys lost. Anyway, this is the talk about, we doesn't know where things there. Therefore, we don't know who's highest practitioner, who's lowest practitioners. That's the logic we show it, and the
So actually, this story is very long. It's one-hour story about one of the 16 hours.
Okay, that in the Baza, Kanji Maji, Tangandu, Kansa, Sudo, Sutoba, Toto Mat, Mashiba, Tanda Shiloka, it's only the Nakoris. That's the Pakin to your Maris.
So, because we don't know who the other person is, what kind of realization he or she has, therefore we should not, blame on them or talk bad about them and so forth. So this is explained in verse 32. So just like I said earlier, I'm wearing robes, and so you might think that I'm a practitioner. Yeah, externally I might look like a practitioner, but internally, if my mind is filled with attachment, hatred, ignorance, and so forth, then I'm only looking like a practitioner from outside, but not really real practitioner from inside. Yeah, so if you are only thinking about your own benefits and not caring about others, then even though you look like a practitioner from outside, you're not a real practitioner from inside. So Jangje Ropa Doje, when he defined about unattentive mind, then he said, what's that? Chila? And so the person who is definitely practitioner from outside, but not definitely practitioner from inside. And so generally, of course, the definition of unattentive or inattentive mind, is the mind which perceives but is not able to pay attention. It's not paying attention to that. Somebody passes by, that somebody passed by, but you don't know exactly who that person is. So that's an attentive mind. So anyway, Jangje Ropa Doje, he said, especially he said, an inattentive mind is someone who is certainly practitioner from outside, but not certainly practitioner from inside. Practitioner from inside. And so if you don't check your own errors to see whether you are a practitioner or not, whether you have those delusions or not in your mind, if you don't check it yourself, you will not be able to find out, and others will not be able to find out by looking at you from outside.
We don't know here how many people here who has more knowledge, who does have more less angry, who has more attachment. We don't know each other, right? Who has more, who has not. Then that, and who know? This is just that's so kaneba.
So, but oneself knows how one is, right? How much attachment or how much delusions one have, right? As it said that oneself is not hidden to oneself.
아니 땅에 봐 제대로는 해서는 수수근 초발 수수 따제 제네 다대 빵한테 다 제대로 해서 별나네 해서
And so, in examining your own mistakes, and when you find it, then engaging in a practice to get rid of it or to abandon it. So doing that is the practice of the Bodhisattvas.
와다들이 다 지금 뭐 보여서 아니 랑긴 집에 딱 개발을 했어 아니 좀 때문에 거 랑긴 집에 랑긴 좀 마다 그 랑긴 상주는 거로 랑긴 다 잡아대 하고 다 개발을 했어.
And so Thubten Damchoe said, that if you, announce your own faults, you announce your own mistakes or faults, then you are a scholar.
Right? That we don't want to show others our faults.
So we try to hide it, right? We don't want to let others know about our mistakes or faults.
That we don't want to show other people think, oh, we are a very angry person, we are a very jealous person. Right? When we meet some, we have to try to be nice. Maybe backside, maybe too much, too strong. 근데 이제 간지마지 가디인 바이는 수수생로 수수고지 따따시 지가 개체 모셔야서 그래서 수수고 링하게 심지 샤바다 개완도 있던 뭐 개완도 근데 수수 따지 지고래서.
So it is important, to check one's behaviors, one's actions, all the time, to see whether it's following the virtuous mind or non-virtuous mind.
어디지? 다 솔로간이셔 아니 심지 손이 바디가 다 아니 심지 젬백이 다 깨는 저거 수다바 예바도 리아도 예바 제야다. 아니 두라에 말해서 와 지금 들어다.
And anyway, let's read that verse 32 first.
If through the influence of disturbing emotions you point out the faults of another bodhisattva, you yourself are diminished, so don't mention the faults of those who have entered the great vehicle. This is the practice of bodhisattvas.
어디나 란 녀모바 왕기 아니 녀모바 왕기 아니 다 대화식에서 막다 녀모바 가서 봐줘서 소소 녀모바 타도게 왕가 아니 다 섬제 셴베가 아니 슈남지 다 녀바 아니 그래 다 봐줘요 맞어 대단하다 소소지 다 연대 냠도 그래서
So, out of strong disturbing emotions, like attachment, anger, or hatred, or jealousy, arrogance, and so forth, you should not point out the faults of the other bodhisattva. If you do that, then you yourself will be diminished. Means your knowledge, your realizations will decrease.
근데 니봐 제바이나 다 동수도로 하고 있어.
So if you point out the faults of others out of afflictive emotion, then you are the one who loses.
근데 이다 나도 지금 다 쉬게 된다래 가지고 제가는 나도 뭐 지금 공부 시대를 나기시나 다 만화랑을 해야 돼. 다 누가 같이 말이죠. 다 소소 캡상이 쳤다 봐줘 같이 공부 나와요. 다 가대 견적하는 다 이거 제가 그래서.
But if you are walking in like a center, where you have to sometimes talk about the bad things or point out the mistakes of other person in order to correct that person or to so that the things will run good at the center and so forth, and so then it's a different case. You're doing that in order to save the center or the place where you're walking, and so that I think it's not that bad.
So it's always the motivation and behind when you correct someone. It's your motivation. If you're doing it out of a delusion.
그럼 소소 캡상을 지대나 내 그런 데 해본 말이죠.
Yes, it depends on your motivation. So here it says like out of influenced by disturbing emotion, like delusions, like attachment and so forth. Then of course the motivation is bad. Therefore, it's bad.
So it could hurt could hurt the person, you could hurt yourself.
Yes.
But if the motivation is good, it could be helpful.
녀몽 꿀꿀안 꿀꿀야 호키네 제가 되게 왔어. 오늘 호키는 미신이 전 때문에 전 주고 있는 전 주고 있는.
This is difficult, right? 다 대 간제 뭐지? 라드도 들어가는 끊어 야고야 간제 소소 교사라고 해서 주는다 야고 말들어 봐.
맞아요. 꿀야 오라 맞는데. 소소랑 소소 교사라 제시는 들어 꿀야 오라. 개개인이 되는 초등방으로.
다 들어요.
전 주고라.
들어요.
어디서 들려.
들으려고 해버렸어.
Yeah, so if you have good motivation, then it's okay. Like, the teacher will, point at the faults of the student,
Right.
and then say, you're doing this, you're doing that bad, this bad, and so forth. And so, in order to help the student to become a better person, so that is okay.
내가 간제 맞았다 가디나 근데 깨웠던 거 강나요 무시게 내가 싶어서 봐서 간제 맞았다. 다 깨면 줘야 말들어.
But, when you point out the faults of other person, if it happens to be a great bodhisattva, then it's risky. That's why you yourself will lose your knowledges, your realizations. So, since you don't know who the other person is, it could be a bodhisattva, could not be a bodhisattva, but since you don't know, it could be bodhisattva, right? And therefore, it is better not to point out the faults of other person.
Therefore, this was a small text, the very lot of things to do, very good. Was
Explains about the points of the practices a lot, right? So it's very good. And so therefore, like I said earlier, if you can recite the verses, even if you can recite the whole text, even if you can just recite a few verses and then contemplate on those meanings, that will be very good. And you can even make that as your daily practice.
But otherwise, usually we do higher tantras. Not in any chibo, not channel cover. That is almost Kokale Kawada, some Tankale Kawandos, and this is what they like was.
So usually when we say, our daily practice, we always tend to do those sadhanas as our practice, higher tantric practice as our daily practice, which are very high and more difficult. But these are, it's very easier to do, right? So we should also pay attention to these practices.
Or some people say, I don't have any practice. You say, why? Because I don't know what they don't want to be human.
Not taking any initiation.
Some people think they don't take initiation, they think they don't have any practice.
Geshe, when we do the Bodhisattva practice,
Yeah.
okay, does it have any relation to this verse? Because theoretically, we do it to, get rid of the obscurations or faults and whatnot. And, I know it's Tantra, but, at the end, it's like, all you're cleansed of all your, whatever.
Your negative karma.
Right, exactly.
Negative comments.
Negative, right, but we're not. So, does it relate to this verse? Verse 30.
31.
Wait, no.
32.
Yeah, 31, yes.
31.
31, yes.
그래서
다소 속에 견도 다 다시 견도 매워서 그랬어. 방어 쳐서 해야지라. 뒤에 되는 것도 다 샤바치도라는 것도 되는 이게 되는 도저 선박이 냠내자 뒤는 되어요. 그래서
대대로 되게 딱 немало 들이 이 봤어. 내가 지금 봤어.
So yeah, it is related. You can, of course, it's related. Where in the practice of the Bodhisattva, where you purify your negativities, and before you purify, then you think about the negative actions that you have created. So those that you remember, those that you don't remember, you just think about them, right?
Right.
And it says, oh, I did this, I did that bad, and so forth. You think about all the mistakes that you made, and then you imagine purifying all those mistakes that you made. So it's similar to this here. Rid yourself of them, and then imagine. And then getting rid of all these negativities.
Right.
나도 소수는 저와라 소수성을 맡은 틀리다 동목도 살아왔어.
And so because of not knowing that we are making mistakes, without knowing, without knowing that we are making mistakes, we made so many mistakes.
다 도시 생각이 거기서 다 도서 메시지 다 니마서 마다지기 was.
And so whatever mistakes you have made, then through the practice of Bodhisattva, and you purify them.
Right, but there'll be more coming tomorrow.
Sorry?
There's more coming. There will be more coming tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can do tomorrow more practice. And tomorrow you can more check.
Or
Or
the 가서 진짜 매체 때 무슨 땀 끼워.
그래서 도선 다 대리체서 뺐어. 다 대리인데 다 쏘라고 제일면서 다 걔는 남자식으로 그러죠.
So you apply those the four opponent powers. So four opponent powers. One of them is as you made a mistake, and now you identify those mistakes, and then you purify them by applying antidote. And then after that, you make a promise not to create that kind of negative outcome again in the future. So that's very important. You have to do that. And otherwise, like you said, yeah, tomorrow again you'll create another one. if you don't make that promise.
또 없이 상황마다 대파요 맞죠.
And so once then all these four opponent powers are together, then any kind of negative karma can be purified.
What are the four opponent powers?
대파해요. 대파가 되더라고요.
님부터 없이 가려서 So the good thing about the negative karma is that it can be purified.
아니 벤지 답사지 그래서
So the first one is called the power of object.
벤지 답은 다 소소가 지금 냠내 제사근데 지금 라크로 주되는 것들이 대리지금들은 다 모두 잡아지고 그래서
So the object, that's in front of which that you purify the negative karma. And so it's like we're talking about the holy objects like the statues, the scriptures, or stupas.
그러나 만소 내려내네 다 쇼케 좀서 지금 동창들의 상대 샤프를 놓았어. 사월에는 지금 단 내가는데 딱 땡기 답지. 이 차피야도 깔려져. zupo champi kachi dance da ani nyembo kachi da da nyembo da so.
So sometimes you guys come here on Sunday before the teaching, right, to do the practice of 35 Buddha practice to purify the negativities. And so when you come in here, then the object, like the Buddha statue, the scriptures that are here, in front of which you do the practice, and to which you make the prostration, to the object to which you make the prostration. And so that is the power of object, and then the practice of making prostration itself, and reciting the prayers while making prostration. So those are the power of an antidote.
Thank you. nyembo kachi da nyembo la to 다 nyembo triangle so nyembo kachi so nyembo da kai shade ko sama ke wala so nyembo triangle nyembo kachi da tenji da
수집에도
조박이야. 남았으니까 tenji 덮지 nyembo kachi da 아니 남았으니까 덮지 아니 이발 나도 다 된다 말이야. 어쓰니부터 내가 줘봐지 그랬어.
당부죠. 다들 너를 니버도 줘버려. 당부 줘봐게.
당부 줘봐지.
줘봐더니
님보지. 근데 다 땡겨야지.
선지부터.
선지부터지. 근데 다 괜히적으로. 다 같이 다 줘봐지 그랬어. 근데 다 당부가 걸어러 오지나 당부 떼기 다 되어지. 근데 줘봐도 되어지. 선지부터. 근데 님보지. 근데 다 니발을 낳게 봤는데 같이 다 되네. 다 되네. 손대 제면서 다 괜찮아.
And so you have to think about the negative karmas that you have created, and so then you think about the results that you're going to experience of creating those negative karma. And so because you know that the results are going to be very bad, fearful, and so forth, so then you regret it. So I shouldn't have done. Now I'm going to suffer so much, and so you need that regret. So it's called the power of remorse or regret. And that's the second one. And third one is, and then once you have developed that remorse or regret, and then you apply, then you engage in the practice to purify those negative karmas. So that practice is the antidote.
Okay. Yeah.
And then once you have done that, And then then the fourth one, is called the power of promise. Where you make promise not to create or not to repeat that kind of negative karma again, even at the cost of one's life.
Correct.
So you make that promise. So when you have all these four, then you in any kind of negative karma, it can be purified.
Okay?
Sometimes in English, they FKMT teachers they gave them names that all begin with R to make it easier to remember. So the first one they say the power of reliance, and then regret, and then the remedy, and then the resolve. That way, just as a way to remember them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I studied it a lot with the Dalai Lama. I just didn't know that it was called the 4 opponent powers. I knew, I just didn't know.
What they're called.
Yeah.
What do they call it?
Yeah.
Okay, any question? No?
Yes. I have one. Before we get too far past verse 30, can you talk a little bit about some of the different types of wisdom, like, for example, mirror-like wisdom? What are some of the other types? I know mirror-like wisdom a little bit. I don't know the rest. I want to know a little bit about the different types of wisdom.
실험가야가 실험가서 면허다고 실험해야 되는데 실험을 망보여서 그러면 면허다고 실험을 하고 그래서 현대 실험도 가르쳐서 데코레이션 준비했어.
No, I don't know that kind of sheriffs. Menoish, Sotoish, Shadowish, I don't know that. They have some different names. What kind of Menoish is that? What? Kurukulla Center.
면허다고 실험해서 면허다고 실험다. 면허이시 세들에.
Reflective like wisdom. Is
And Sotoish.
not familiar to.
Shadowish.
Usually don't remember.
Okay.
You know one I know true then three, then you don't know. It is not true. 간지 맞았다. 싫어라. 단다대가 고민이 미래. 근데 돈이 또 계셔. 남의 또 계셔. 왔다 갔다 계셔. 남남 보여서.
So yeah, there's a particular, the wisdom that you're talking about, that five different types of wisdoms, but I'm not familiar with that myself. So here in this context, it's talking about the wisdom realizing emptiness.
Okay?
Okay.
And when you find this, then you can tell me, okay?
Okay.
Not just names, you have literally meaning. Okay? And any questions? No more? Yeah, then you very sharp. That's not really something wrong, something short.
So we'll stop here today. A little bit early. Something can be early, something can be late.
Then we have maybe 2 more books, then we finish this. And we will be bored. Oh, be careful, okay? You link to come here.
Yeah.
No.
Huh?
No.
Long.
Long.
Too much lung.
So your lung might come out.
Too much wind.
If you blow too hard, your lung might come out also.
How many classes did you say we're going to have with this text?
We're gonna have 2 more.
Just 2 more?
Yep. But next week is actually Guru Puja, so it won't be next week.
Oh, it'll be 3 more weeks.
3 more weeks, but 2 more classes.
What is it?
Start the 4th week.
Next week is Lama Chupa,
Okay.
and then 2 more weeks of this text, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
And then we start a Salam after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should read it a little bit, the text.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is rich. Also, remember, it's good. Okay?
Okay.
Don't push very strong, okay? So your eyes come. One Sarah, the 1 mark, you do very strong.
Yeah.
The eyes come. You push the eye come out. This happen, okay? This is real. This is not just a very old story. Don't do this, okay?
Your eyes might pop up.
Then if you the eyes, the heart, you can put back the stay there. If very cold, then it doesn't stay. Okay.
Thank you, Geshe.